Okay, so we're going to do the first project from JavaScript chapter 2 lab. So open the index page in Visual Studio Code. So it will look like this. So as I told you, we are going to do the conversion of Fahrenheit to Celsius. This conversion is going to be done by using JavaScript coding. So right now, it will not do the conversion. Once we update the code, it can do the conversion like this. Okay. So I want to read the textbook description. If you have the textbook, go to page number 140 where you can see the instruction, or you can read it from here. In your text editor, index.html, hands-on project, go to the index page. At the bottom of the document, before closing the body tag, enter the script tag. And within the script tag, you're going to do the function. Okay. So if you recall, we have done this, how to define a function. What are the things that you have to know related to function? We have discussed all these things in our lecture class, right? So you know that function is the keyword that you have to do. So what we are going to do here, we are going to create a function to perform this conversion. Okay. So we are going to define a function. So the name of the function is going to be convert. And we have written the code to do the conversion. Are you able to read the code? Where is the keyword? To specify it is a variable. Just try to understand the code and before you write the code. Document.get element by ID. So what you have to do when you give the Fahrenheit, go to the page, inspect, click the inspect. Do you see the value which is entered in the ID? We need to pick that value. That value is going to be what? That value is going to be the Fahrenheit value. Okay. So to pick that value, how we are going to pick the value from the page? If you click this, inspect, you will see in the IDF value, whatever value that is entered there, we are going to pick that. Okay. So that is what we are going to write. So let's write it. Go to your index.html of JavaScript. After this article, before you close the body tag, create a script tag. We're going to write our JavaScript code. And you know how to define a function by using the function keyword. So if you recall, the definition of the function syntax for that is function keyword. Very good. And then we are going to write a function. Function name is going to be convert. You know, always there should be parenthesis when it is a function. So we are adding the parenthesis. Okay, we are going to call the function wherever it is needed. First, we have to define it. Where is the keyword? In this, to hold the variable. What is the variable? Yes, Fahrenheit. So degree is the variable. So how to get that value? From this ID, right? We're going to get it from the ID. So the code for that is, you can use this document.get element by ID. You can get the ID value by inspecting that. And whatever value entered on that, we're going to use it. You have to type it. Please type it. I will explain the code. Document, you know the document object, and you're familiar with the get element by ID value function that will pick the value which is entered in that ID. Okay, that's why it is dot value. So if you are wondering what is this F value, I have explained, it is nothing but this ID, F value ID. So whatever the value entered here, that will be picked and saved here. So what is the next variable that we need here? Can you tell me what is the next variable? To hold this result. Okay, Celsius result. So for that, we have to create another variable. So it is also variable. And whenever it is inside a function, it is called local variable. Okay, local variable, all local variables should have the keyword var. So this is for Celsius. Are we going to pick it? No, we are going to calculate it. How can we calculate it? Any of you know the formula? This is the formula. From the Fahrenheit to Celsius, this is the formula. Minus 32 into 5 divided by 9. So this is the formula. So you have to type it. Okay. It is an expression. We are going to calculate the Celsius from the Fahrenheit by this formula. And this is confusing, right? We have to make it because based on the priority order of precedence only, the calculation will be done. So to make it clear, we have to add the parentheses. Okay, now we have the degree. Where we have to place this degree? Can you tell me where we have to place it? To find it, just go here. We have to place it, right? Physically, we know here we have to place it. Now, how can we find it? Inspect. Do you see the ID? What is the ID? C value. That's where we have to place it. So we know it is going to be C value. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to copy this. So instead of F value, it is going to be simply C value. So just change the F to C. And value will pick the value, but to display something in the place, we already have seen this, the function, inner HTML. Do you remember inner HTML that we practiced last week? So the inner HTML will do the display thing. It can display something in the viewport. Okay. So we are going to use the inner HTML function. Inner HTML. It's a property. Inner HTML that will do that job for us. What it will do? Yeah, it will just display whatever is there in this variable. It will pick it and it will display it here. So that's how we are doing it. We are getting the F value and we are doing the calculation in the second statement. And in the third statement, we are putting that value in the web page by using inner HTML. I hope you have understood the code. So now we have to call this function, right? We have just defined it. The different function definition is nothing but it's there, but without calling it, there is no use. We have to call it where we need. So how can we call the function? Do you remember? There are 3 types that you can use function calling. Do you remember it? 3 ways that we can do the function calling. Recall it. We have discussed it. What are the 3 ways? By using the as a HTML attribute, the second thing is as a property value, and the third thing is as a get element, add event listener. So we are going to use this method. I told you this is the popular one. So we are going to use this third method to call this function that we have created. You get it? The third method. Let's do that. So third method. So just see document dot for your convenience. Even you can just copy this, and then we will change the values. Document dot get element by ID. What is the ID here? Button. So to do that, just inspect that button. What is the value of that? Button. Good. So just change that submit button to button because that's what given in the web page. Okay. And then add event listener. Okay. Add event listener. Add event listener. By when we click it, which function needs to be called here? Convert. Very good. When we do that, this function needs to be called. So we have defined the function and we have called the function by using one of the 3 methods that we learned. So save this save this. And now go back to your code. Open the page. Just do that. And you should be able to see the result here. So you have to take a screenshot of this result with the temperature and update it. Without screenshot, you should not submit your assignment without screenshot. You have to submit it with screenshot. So this is the code snippet that you have to update. Okay, so the second part is this one. You have the form. When you submit it, it does not show anything, but it should say something like, thank you for submitting the information. Okay, so to get it done, open this page, index page. Go to the index page, open it in Visual Studio Code. So if I read the instruction, at the bottom of the document in the script, we have to add few content to get this done. Okay, let's do that. So go to the index page of the second project. There add the script. Another script tag. So when this has to get that confirmation that you have submitted, only when it receives. In case if you're not submitting the third form element, please fill in the field. It says you didn't fill all the fields. It says you have to fill it. So once you submit everything, then only it says thank you, right? So we are not only just submitting, just saying some popping message saying thank you. We are validating whether all the elements are entered. How we are doing the validation. So for this also, we are going to create a function. What is the keyword? Function. And we have to give a function name. We give the function something, but something should be your function. It is called identifier. Whatever you give, variable name, function name, all of them are called identifier. So when you give the identifier, when you give some name to a function or variable, you have to make sure that it makes sense too. Because someone, you may have written the code, someone will maintain the code later on, right? So it should make sense. Your variable name and function name should make sense. And also it should obey the rules. Like it should not start with the number. It should not start with a special character. And it should not be a keyword. So those rules you have to consider. Okay. Now the first thing, we are going to get the name, right? That is what there in the. So how to get that ID? Go and inspect. What is the name of the ID? Name input, right? So that is going to be the name input. If you click and inspect, you can see the ID name, which is name input. So that is what we're going to use here. So document dot get element by ID. What is the ID? Name input. Very good. Name input. Copy and paste or type it. And now we have to create the variable for the second input. So to see what is there in the second input, you can see the ID is email input. So we have to just get what is there in the email input entered by someone. So for that, let's give a variable name email and how to get what is entered. Document object get element by ID a function. And we have to pass the value. What is the value? The email input. Email input. And then we are going to create the third variable. Again, go back and inspect. What do you see here? Phone input. If you double click, it will let you to copy it. So double click and copy the ID. And here create a variable name that makes sense. It is phone. And document object dot get element by ID function. What ID that we want to get? The phone input. Okay. Now we have created all the values. Now what we have to do, we have to make sure all the fields are entered. Okay. So do you remember I explained this thing, a combination of, you remember this the last thing that I explained on our Monday class? The combination of operator. Do you remember? The expression, if it is true, the first one will be selected. If it is false, then the second one will be selected. Yeah. So we are going to use this programming technique to deal with this. So how we are going to deal? The expression is going to be, it is going to check whether all the fields are entered. If all the fields are entered, then what it is going to say? If it is true, it is going to say thank you. If any of the fields are not entered, what it is going to say? Please, please enter the field. So if it is true, this one will be selected. If it is false, this one will be selected. So that's what we are going to do. So if you have the textbook, you can see the code itself. So we are going to validate whether the name variable has a value and email variable has a value and phone variable has a value. If all this variable has some value, then that means it is entered by the user. If it is true, then what will be selected? Thank you will be displayed. If it is false, then what will be displayed? Please fill in the field. So this is the syntax. Question mark, expression 1, expression 2. So do you remember the alert method? Alert method will give the pop-up message. Okay. Okay. Let's do that. You have to type it. Please type it. So name that value. The variable. What is the value of the variable? It holds. If it is entered, then it will be saved here in this variable. And then if the value in the email is entered, that will be saved in the email variable. If the phone number is entered, that will be saved in the phone number variable. If all this variable has some value, then it is true. When it is true, this expression 1 will be selected. When any of those things, because since we have given AND, if it is OR, then that is different case. If you recall, what is the meaning of logical AND? Everything should be true, right? Yeah. So if any of this is 0, then it will become false. Then the second one will be selected. Only if everything is 1, then only the first one will be selected. So we are giving that combination of the conditional expression to check the input, whether all the inputs has been entered. So next thing, this is just a function. Remember, it's not valid. Until you call it, there is no use of it. You have to call it, right? How we are going to call it? Using the add event listener. You can even copy the code from the previous one. Let's change the values. You can just copy the code or you can just type it. It will pop up in the IDE. Okay, now we have to see which ID, where it has to fill. Okay, so when you click this ID, here only, when this one is getting clicked, then only it will pop up the message, right? So to see that, what is the ID? Submit, right? Yeah, copy the submit. The ID of the submit button is submit. So copy that submit and replace the button with submit. And click is true. What is the function name here? Submit info. Very good. So submit info. Since we have already saved, the IDE will be able to pick your function name. It will be able to pick your function name and place it. It will show in the pop-up. So I'm just expanding the code once again. Our script tab. Inside that, we are defining our function, and here we are doing the function calling by using the add event listener method. You know the syntax. Add event listener has 3 parameters. One is the event. The first parameter is the event, and the second parameter is what should be called when that event happens and whether it is true or false. And we are creating a variable, and we are just validating it here. So just save this. Just save this. and then double click it and just try to enter. And now it should say thank you. If you have not filled any of the fields, then it will say please fill in the fields. Okay. So I want you to update the screenshot of two. One saying please fill in the field and the another one saying thank you. Two screenshot for the second project. So what is the third one? Yeah, shape one. So right now it doesn't say anything. We are going to update our JavaScript so that it will say, you click what? So to work on that, go to Handsome Project 2.3 and open the index page in Visual Studio Code. I'll go to the book and see what's that. So just code explanation. So let's come to it. So below this article tag, create a script tag. Okay. So how to be done, how it should be done. So let's see what, let's inspect the page first, whether there is a way to say something like that. So if you inspect, there is a div ID for square and div ID for triangle and div ID for circle. So we can easily use the get element by ID to pick what it is. Okay, so get element ID can be used here. So let's use that. So inside your script tag, we are going to use our document.get element by ID method, which we are already familiar. And when you click the square, what is the name or ID of the square? So it's a square, right? So just copy that ID name and put it inside. Single parenthesis should be there. And now we are going to add it like an event. This is itself an event, right? This itself an event, right? So we are going to add the event listener method. And this time we are going to use the anonymous function definition. Do you remember anonymous function definition? Yeah, two types of function definition. Anonymous is the one that you don't need to give any function name. And you can, but you cannot call it later. You have to call it immediately. You don't need to give any function name, but you have to call it immediately. So we are going to use that method here. So add event listener. And when that pop-up message appears, when you click that, right? So what is the event? What is the event? Click. Okay, what function should be called? We're not going to give a name for that. It is going to be anonymous function. When it is anonymous function, you have to just give the keyword function and curly brace. And immediately you have to define. So what should happen? Tell me what should happen. Yeah, alerts, right? Very good. So we're going to use the alert to say something like this. So that is what we are going to define inside this. So we can use the alert function, which is part of JavaScript built-in function. And what it should say? Yeah, you click the square. So you can, I'm just going to copy. You have to type it. You click the square. You click the square. Okay. And then after this, it is going to be another. So just copy this and paste it again here. So we are going to do something for the next shape, which is triangle shape. So for the triangle, the ID name is triangle. So just change the name to triangle. And what it should say, you click this triangle. Just change it. Just give some uppercase. Yeah, it is one single function. So we will do it because it is one single event. It says each one. Let's try it without that. Okay. In the book, it says that. You're comfortable with that. Let's do that in that way. It should work without that, but yeah, let's do it in that way. So after that, in that case, you have to give it here. Also here, you have to give it before you close the parenthesis. And then we're going to do the third one. And the ID is going to be square. Sorry, circle. So I think that is pretty much that we need to do. Do you think? Because there is no function, it's itself a function, right? We don't need to call it. It is inside the function definition itself. That's with the anonymous function. Semicolon. Yes. Can we? The semicolon should not be here in that case. The semicolon should not be there. Let's check the book. The semicolon.
No, it does go there.
It should be there and there, right? Let's see how it works. Something like in a single statement, when we separate two code snippet, two expression, then we will use semicolon here. Okay, anyway, let's see. Save. It works. Okay. So do you understand this code? We are getting the ID and add event listener method. And when you do the clicking, we are calling this function. Inside calling function itself, we are doing the definition. Okay. So what you have to do for the screenshot, you have to click any of the shape and just take a screenshot. You don't need to do it for all three shapes. Just click any shape and take a screenshot of that. Okay. So the fourth one is this menu. If you click checkbox, it should calculate the total amount and then it should display that in the alert message. Okay. So we are going to change our code in such a way that it can just pick the the price and do the calculation and display it in the alert message. So go to project 4 and open index page with Visual Studio Code. As well, go to the end of the document. Normally, we will just add all the scripts only at the end of the document because that will not interrupt the flow. So that the web browser will read all the HTML, then it will work on the script. If you give the snippets in between, that it will interrupt the flow of reading. The browser will get interrupted when it reads the HTML. So we don't want to interrupt the flow. That's why we are giving the script tag at the end of the page. Okay, now just try to understand what we are doing here. We are doing some calculation, right? So we are picking all the values and doing some calculation. So we have to define a function to calculate the total amount, right? So let's add the code for that. We are going to define a function. And that function is going to do the calculation. So let's give a function name called calc total. The T is uppercase. I told you about the camel case thing. To separate two words, we will give the second word with the uppercase that is called camel case thing in the programming. We're going to calculate the total. Okay, sir.
Need to see them.
So the variable is item total equal 0, right? So the next one, item 1. What is the, can we pick this thing for calculating something like that? Okay, you can see each thing has an item 1, item 2, item 3. Let's use that. Document dot get element by ID. Can you tell me the ID? Do we have ID? Yeah, item 1. Now what we can do? We can copy it. Right? So change the variable name to 2. And what is the ID? Can you check it for me? 2. And third variable name. What is the variable name? 3. And ID? 3. And how many items are there? 4 items are there. 5 items are there, right? 4 or 5? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 items are there. Yes, 5 items. Okay. So here is the deal. Now we are going to use this thing again, the combination statement. If the particular item is selected, then we are going to add it to the total. If it is not selected, then we are not. Okay, we can use the combination, right? So let's see how to do that. Okay, now how can we check that? How can we check whether it is selected? If it is checked, then it is checked, right? So there is a property. So this is default thing. If it is a checkbox, to see whether it is selected or not, the property, the associated property is checked, is the property name. That is inbuilt property name. That's we are not giving. That is inbuilt. Everyone who is checking whether it is checked or not, they have to use that property name. We're going to use that. It is the inbuilt property. Item 1, checked. Checked. If it is checked or not. So question mark. If it is checked, then what is the total amount? $8 should be included, right? Yes. So how can we do that? If it is checked, the item total is already 0, right? With that 0, we are going to add 8, right? So do you remember that compound addition, plus equal to minus equal to symbol? Do you remember? Yes, we are going to use that compound assignment operator. If it is added, then with the already, whatever the amount is there, in that we are going to add 8. It could be 0 initially, or if they have already selected some other item, then it could be that amount. Whatever it is, we are going to, whatever the amount, with that we are adding 8. If not, what? We are not adding anything. But anyway, we have to say that here. Yeah, 0. We have to say that here. If it is not selected, 0. It is just a code. Everything should be logical to the code. Copy this. We're going to do the same thing for the other items. So tell me, what is the next item ID? ID 2. Item 2, whether it is checked or not. Can anyone tell me what is the price? $9. $9, yes. The second item, whatever the item, we don't need to worry about what is the item, but all we need is this one. Whatever we can pick, the selector should be there. Whatever is given inside this fried chicken, fried Hollywood, it doesn't matter to the code. What is the ID? That's what we need to pick. And third item, if it is selected, then with the total item total, we have to add $8. If it is not selected, then whatever, it can be that. And then item 4, what is the amount? For the fourth, $13, right? Value is $13. We have to add that $13. Or else 0. For item 5, it is $6. Or else it is 0. Agree? Yeah. So we have done all the calculations. Whatever is selected, the value will be there where? In single variable. Item total, that value will get updated. If you have selected the first 2 items, then 8 plus 9, $17 will be there. Nothing is selected, then $0 will be there. Whatever is, the item total will get updated. Now, we have to add some tax, it seems. We are going to do all those calculations. There is some tax amount. You go to the syntax, they have said there is some tax amount. We have to add the tax amount. Okay. Variable sales tax rate 0.07. And then order total, we are holding another variable where we are adding the item total and then the tax rate into item total. So this variable, we have to give that variable value. Whatever is there inside this order total, that is what we are going to display in the pop-up message. Remember? That's what we are going to display. So whatever is that, the order total, it is $8, but by adding the tax, it is 8.56. That should be there. So that should be added. So we are going to create an alert function for the pop-up message, and it is going to say your order total is dollar amount. What is the variable that we want to? String concatenation. Remember, string concatenation plus symbol will do that, right? Plus, what is the variable? Order total. But we have everything. It is just function. We have to call this function, right? For that, we are going to call the function by using add event listener method. When that add event listener method should be called? When you click the submit, right? So let's inspect this ID. What is, when you click the submit, then only this one should be called. So the ID of that is submit. We're going to use that in our function calling. So how to do the function calling? Document dot get element by ID submit. You know where the submit is coming from, right? When you inspect the submit button, you will get the ID. Add event listener. Can you tell me the first parameter? Click. Second parameter, the function, yeah, call total, the function name, the false. Very good. So we have our function here and we have our function definition here. So chapter 2 is all about how to define function in JavaScript and how to call it, how to integrate it with the web browser along with the web page. So you have learned these things in all these 4 practices. So if you call the function, save it and refresh the screen or open it in the page. Now, if you click on this, when you click the submit button, it will give you the total amount. So you have to take a screenshot of this. You have to take a screenshot of this and submit for your 4th practice. Okay. If you want to look at the code,